everyone, I'm Claire,
I'm Wade.
and we're the Argonath duo, bringing you part 2 of our vlog series about collaboration, which is something that we obviously do all of the time. And in part 1, we talked about how to prepare, the very first steps when you're preparing to collaborate or work with someone else.
That's looking at the full score, maybe doing some analysis, listening to some recordings, learn your part really thoroughly, do your best to learn the other parts as well. That way you have the most comprehensive understanding you can before you try putting it together.
So when you try putting it together with someone, the first thing you should do when you come into rehearsal, I guess what we do is we normally kind of just do a read-through to try and see where we both are with it and try and go through and no stopping unless it completely falls apart. Just so, again, you get an overarching, right? Is that how you say that?
Overarching?
Overarching?
I think king. Yeah.
Overarching view of the piece. And then I think from there is where you start to work. I think something that's really important in collaboration, especially when you have people with really strong musical opinions, is that it's really good to try everything. I know that sometimes when I played in quartet before, people can get really worked up about like, no, I don't want to do it that way, my way's better. And then you get into this thing, and it will save you so much time if you just say, okay, let's try it this way. Let's see if it works. Okay, now let's try it the other way. Which way do we like it better?
Absolutely.
So that saves a lot of arguing.
Yeah, being respectful to each other as musicians, and try out different interpretations, whether it's your idea, whether it's their idea, or something that you heard in another recording, just as an experiment. I would completely agree on the first read-through, listening to each other and try to pick up on what the other person is doing and see if you can help that gel together into one cohesive performance.
And there's a couple cool strategies I've used when rehearsing with pianists, at least one of these we haven't done, but they've really helped me as a violinist. One is to break it down and simplify a little bit. So for example, if there's a really rhythmic part in the bass line or the pianist's left hand, I will sometimes ask them just to play the left hand for me while I play so I can really line up with that, and then add in the rest of the texture, because that can be helpful just to simplify one part. Another thing to really help with intonation is violinists, when you're playing with a pianist, you can't argue about intonation. In string quartet, yes, you can argue about intonation all day. But with a pianist, assuming that the piano is reasonably in tune, you have to match them, so we have to play equal temperament. Maybe if the piano has an open fifth, you can get away with a little wiggle room with your thirds, but so something that's really cool to do, especially if you have a grand piano, is to put the lid all the way up and then stand in the curve of the piano. Ask the pianist to play block chords under you and play your melody line really, really slowly, and that way you can both feel the vibrations of the harmonies and hear it really, really clearly, so that way you can learn how to fit into it better. So that's a really good practice technique that I found that worked when I was trying to completely redo my intonation.
Absolutely. As far as when you're going along and you're rehearsing with someone, and I would really just like to emphasize or reiterate what you were saying about if you need to back it down a step and just take it down to a more basic level, whether it's the rhythm of the harmonies, if you're just doing block chords on the piano, and just don't be afraid to break it down a little bit if you need to get that coordination together.
And let's just stress that that's just to improve coordination, but you should know the harmonies and everything well enough to be able to execute that at a number of levels. And then I guess just one last thing, as we see our timer is clicking down so we don't make this vlog too long, is just to be respectful of your colleagues' time and make sure you arrive on time, make sure you're prepared, and then make sure that if someone has a time when they need to leave, make sure you're working efficiently enough that when you hit that time and they need to go, you can do that.
Absolutely.
When you see our behind the scenes videos, you might see us goof around a lot. I've also cut together the goofiest parts of our rehearsals for that, but we're both like really prepared, and all of our goofing around is like we're being geeky. None of it's like I don't know my notes.
Right. It's not just noodling around like I'm trying to figure out what it is that I should have prepared before rehearsal.
No, you're just improvising.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so hope you join us for part 3. Which will be detailing, how would you say
what you
that?
actually do when you're playing. So I guess performing.
Yeah, performing as opposed
as
to rehearsing.
All right.
All right, thanks for watching.